Welcome to the Self Storage Insight Podcast. I'm Ben Shirey. Matt, how you doing today, buddy?
Good, man. How's your morning going?
Going good. Excited for the conversation today. And so, we'll just kind of dive right into some of the things we've been hearing.
Yeah. Word on the street is
auction notifications are changing. Right.
Yep.
And so we're going to start with that. We'll talk a little bit about lease agreements and just some of the things that we're hearing of what's going on in the industry. Again, when we bring a podcast like this to the table, this is not just recommendations that we make. This is things that we're hearing from operators, from looking into different state legal advice and
compliance. Regulation.
Yeah. So we do a lot of research, but then we also try to bring a practical implementation to the table for a business. Because you guys are trying to run self-storage facilities, right? We're trying to run a business, and I see so many operators just getting hung up in how they think this could come back to bite them.
Yeah.
You know? And so I like to have these kind of conversations once in a while. They're a little bit edgy to say that we'll get some negative feedback from this idea for sure. However, who cares? I mean, run your business the way you want to run your business.
Absolutely.
But as far as auction notifications, so we'll kind of just jump in here.
Yeah, we have the privilege of talking to 100 or more facility owners each week, pretty much at this point.
We're very well connected and engaged in the industry. Yeah. So this is not something that we just sit around and think up on our own. These are from conversations that we're having with real operators that are operating facilities all across the U.S. I mean, we work with operators in all 50 states.
And plus we dig further into the state compliance and the different regulations with notifications and the lien and the auction processes. So we do research as well, outside of just the conversations we have with the owners.
Absolutely. And the main reason that kind of sparked this conversation was we were talking to another owner that's also in Pennsylvania that still thinks they need to send certified mail.
Yeah. Carrier pigeon.
Yeah. However we can get them, however we can make sure for sure they saw this certified mail. They won't do an email notification, to print ads in a newspaper. Like there are changes that are happening around those things. And so even in Pennsylvania alone, right? So I can now send email notification as long as it's sufficiently outlined in my lease agreement that I am saying that the tenant agrees to receive electronic notifications at an email address and that the email address is in the lease. If it's in there, I can actually send it again. People are going to say like, oh, whoa, that's too risky. I would never do that for my business. Who's really suing you for auctioning off their unit? Yeah. I can't afford to pay you $40, but I'm going to take you to court and beat you.
I'm too broke to pay my bill and respond, but I'm going to pay a lawyer to take you to court.
But there is that risk, and you do want to protect your business.
For sure.
And so, again, you want to follow the state compliance law, but at the same time, it's like, how far above and beyond do I keep going to protect my business?
How much do I spend, and how much of my time do I waste?
Right, exactly.
On things that aren't relevant, like Pennsylvania. This is fairly new. Email is sufficient, and there doesn't need to be a read receipt from what we read. We're not lawyers, but that's just, we looked into the compliance, the statutory 6A. So we looked into it. But yeah, and a lot of people in Pennsylvania, us included until recently, think that you still have to send certified letters or certified letter, and then you still need to post the auction twice in the local newspaper. Well, even that's changed. It's once in the newspaper and then once on a social media platform or marketing platform.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that has changed. Now there are states, again, understand that every state is going to be different. So it's hard to, that's why most people don't have these conversations, because it's like, it is very broad. There are some states where you can't email yet. There's like 13 I think left in the United States where email is not acceptable. And then there are other states where it's like, I can send an email if my read receipt shows that they opened it within 3 days, that's sufficient. Yeah. If they didn't open it within 3 days, then it needs to trigger that I need to send them a certified letter.
Yeah. But certified or verified.
Yes.
But that's different by state.
Yeah.
Again.
So there are a lot of things, and it's hard to have these conversations because it's like, oh, gray area.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to protect my business, but I'm also trying to grow my business. So how often do I want to get sucked into these, trying to print out a letter and send it to my tenant? Again, I'm a super big advocate for paperless things. Yeah. Right. I'm into tech. I love
trees.
I love trees. I cut a bunch down, but no. But the process for running a business is already difficult enough. My time is already invested in so many other things. To jump through all of these other hoops to make sure my bases are for sure covered, it doesn't always make sense. Yeah. Right. And so what we're doing is adjusting lease agreements to show, hey, in our lease agreement, we are going to state that we notify you through electronically for auction notifications.
Lien, auction,
and then
notices.
in the lease, and again, this is why we love online rentals. They have to be signing up with an email address.
Yep.
That email address automatically goes into the lease. They agree to the terms of the lease. Yep. They have in the lease stated that they are agreeing to receive electronic notifications. And in the state of Pennsylvania, that appears to be sufficient.
If there's a clause in your lease template and that field gets pulled in, you're covered.
Yeah. And again, there are going to be operators that absolutely tear me apart for this and say, hey, that's a terrible thing. Like, you absolutely have to be sending certified mail. There are lines that we cross that are, again, in our good faith effort, we are going to do the best thing that we can do to notify the tenant.
Yeah. That's a key word too, good faith.
Yeah.
Keywords.
It is what we're doing. And then that way, whenever it comes back, we can say, hey, this is how our lease agreement states. This is the notification that we sent. Here's the delivery receipt that we got whenever we sent this email. We confirmed that they got it because they agreed that was how they wanted to be notified. Yeah. And then from there, yeah, you know what? Yeah. There may be a little bit of risk, but it's going to save me so much time versus going to print out certified letters and going and sending certified mail that if you look at it in that term, it's just a hassle. Like, you're not auctioning off that many units.
Yeah. The default rate's what, 1.2 to 1.8%.
It's just a pain in the butt to go through all these hoops. So
yeah, and you don't have to take our word for it. You don't have to get upset with us. The time that you spend or the time that you invest in going through these processes, take a fraction of that time and just do some research on your own. Find out what's specific for your state, and then, adjust and adapt your lease verbiage or your lease agreement, as a whole to fit that and your practice to fit that. But like even certified letters, you send out a certified letter, you hold that sent receipt. That receipt, you can't confirm that they opened it and read it, but
yeah, because sometimes that letter comes back to you as undelivered.
But in almost every situation we've looked at, with most states where email is sufficient or even certified letter, the fact that you put good faith effort into delivering that is sufficient in court. In court, that will hold up.
Honestly, the thing that they say is just like hold on to the receipt that you sent the certified mail, and that is sufficient. Yeah. And so like understanding that these things are going to continue to change, right? And they're not going to change backwards. Yeah. Right. So like there's not going to be a day in the United States where all of a sudden in a self-storage facility that's like, oh no, now you're back to sending certified mail, but you weren't before. Like it's not going to go backwards.
Yeah, or going back to posting sales, auction sales in the newspaper.
Right. Well, they're trying to keep the newspapers alive for some reason. Pennsylvania's trying to keep the newspapers alive with auction listings
in the newspaper.
Right. That's the only posting that's going to be in there. But
the blank newspaper with one auction.
No, I mean everything's moving online. Everything's moving electronically, and in that direction. So honestly, the best advice that we can give on this is, consult with whoever you're comfortable with consulting with. Yeah. I know of multiple facilities that, if you post this on Facebook, it's going to be like, oh my word, who'd you have write up your lease? ChatGPT, and it's a big joke. Yeah. However, it works.
Oh, it works.
And I'm not suggesting that you do it. Yeah. As a non.
But technically, it knows more than any human. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Honestly, like it is very impressive the things that it can put out, and the people that joke about it are going to be killed by it in their business. Yeah. When I say killed, I mean theoretically their business is going to get run over by AI. It's going to change every legal system in the United States, and the way that attorneys even use. I know of attorneys that are using it to research cases, like
attorneys, celebrities, artists, pastors, it's everybody.
It's what it is. Yeah. So you can hate it as long as you want to, but at some point it has a ton of information, and you can make a better informed decision because of it. Yeah.
Like they say in the Marine Corps, adapt and overcome. To speak to that, you need to adjust if you want to scale or survive. Right.
And again, I'm not talking to every operator whenever I talk like this either, because there are operators that don't want to change, that they're very comfortable with having a very locked down process where their business is 100% protected. Yeah. And then there are operators that say, hey, I'm going to push the limits a little bit, and I'm going to run my business in a really efficient way. And there is a little bit of risk with that. Yeah. And the little bit of risk that we've seen from those operators has been almost zero, because this it doesn't come back. Yeah. It doesn't come back to be a big issue. However, there are a lot of scare tactics, and scare tactics work in most cases, right? Like, fear media sells. So, anyway, it is interesting how rapidly the industry is changing, and it's definitely something that you want to stay on top of. Yeah. You know, even going into the next step that I would want to discuss a little bit is just the changes in lease signing processes, right? So, multiple states have now adapted that if your tenant moves in, pays you for, you know, in some states it's 30 days, some states it's 60 days. That number changes based on your state. However, after 60 days of a tenant living or renting a facility,
we hope not.
We hope not, but maybe renting at your facility after 60 days, the lease is binding whether they signed it or not.
Yeah, one state's 14 days. Once they've paid and they've moved in and they've rented for 14 days, they're bound to that lease verbiage despite them not signing that lease agreement.
And so that's a huge thing, because as you're, you know, one of the big ones we even see is like transitioning software. Yeah. You're going through a software transition and all of your signed leases are in your software. You can pay money and get them out. You can try to download them all and move them. You're going to lose them if you just let them sit in that software and you close your account. And then so a lot of people then come up with, they're concerned like, oh, I'm going to lose all of my signed documents and now my lease isn't agreed to by any of my tenants. Well, under these new state legislations and things, within 14 days, that tenant has agreed to the lease, whether you have that signed copy or not.
Yep.
And so if you go back and you say, oh, they moved in 6 months ago, I don't have the signed lease, but they've been here for 6 months.
Yeah.
What was the lease agreement that was in place when they moved in, and that's what they agreed to.
Yeah, again, things are adapting in your favor, it seems. Yeah. You know, that's the trend.
Right. Yeah. And again, a lot of thanks to the storage associations and the work that they're doing to keep pushing that along, because the government's not going to do anything about it unless somebody pushes them a little bit on it. But so those are just some things to be aware of that are changing. Communication is getting less strict around auctions. And when I say less strict, it's getting upgraded to 2025 to where we can send digital communication
all the way through the online auction process.
Yeah. So, and again, online auctions are now approved in more states. Yeah. And you can do online auctions just about everywhere. And so, you know, these trends continue to change. Make sure as an operator you're keeping up with these kinds of things. Yeah. You can actually find a lot of this information either through your state association. You can find a lot of it through ChatGPT. Yeah. There is a ton of information online about this kind of stuff now that you can dig into. Again, access to information continues to get easier and it continues to get cheaper. So in a lot of cases, you may not need to pay a high fee to access somebody else's information. It's now free and readily available.
Yeah. By all means, do what's best, what you feel is best for your business, best practice for your business to keep your business safe. But like I said, do some research. Type in, you know, which states do no longer require certified mail or verified mail for the lien auction process, and you'll find the list that we found, 13 states, but it doesn't just give you 13 states. It elaborates on it in detail, shows the compliance numbers, the regulation, the statutory numbers. It shows everything. And then you can dig further and ask more questions. Like you keep asking it questions to find the meat, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, again, depending on how much you care about getting this information, you can also you can drill down in AI and say, like, this is my business. This is how I run my business. This is all of the information that
What's the best practice,
and then it'll start all of a sudden recommending the way you should implement things.
Yeah.
It's definitely way more useful than people understand how to use it. But again, I'm just saying the information's easily available.
Yeah. Even through a Google search, you can find that information.
Yeah. A lot of it. Yeah. Yep. And so again, but make sure you're comfortable with it. Make sure you're not just taking our word for it. Do your own research, dig into it a little bit. But the main thing is that these state laws are changing. Stay on top of it if you're trying to automate your business. Yeah. There are ways to implement different processes that are simpler and automated. Yep. It's hard to automate a certified mail unless you're using somebody like Bid 13 or something for an auction process where they're taking care of the email or the communication side of it. But if you want to do it all on your own and you don't want to be working with a third party or whatever, it's also pretty manageable. Yeah. So. Yeah, cool. I mean, that's just some of the things that we're hearing right now as far as around communication and around leases. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Any other thoughts or anything I forgot to touch on there?
No. And if you guys have any feedback that you want to add to the podcast, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what you think, what you've heard. We're a sponge. We like to absorb as much information as we can, and we like to share what we hear. So absolutely, and also, like we talk to operators all day, every day.
Like that's literally what we do.
100.
We're working with operators all of the time. Whether it's for researching of how we're building features in CC Storage or
partnering with them
partnering with
our system out better.
Yeah. So we're always communicating. So these ideas, these things that we bring to the table, they're not just our ideas. They're not just things that we recommend. They are things that we are hearing that are being implemented that are working for operators. Whether you agree or disagree, that's fine. We just like to share the information that's out there. That way everybody can kind of stay on top of what's going on.
Yeah. Yep. We're here to help you guys.
Yep. Absolutely. So, all right, man. Well, It's been fun.
Yeah.
All right. Until the next time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys so much for listening and tuning into the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. This episode was brought to you by CC Storage. CC Storage is a property management software that can be utilized by your business at no cost to you. Pass the fees for credit card processing onto your tenants, increase your business's revenue, no software fees, no contracts, no per unit costs, no surprises. So hope you check out CC Storage as the sponsor of our podcast, and we hope you tune in to the next episode. Thank you.